Good. Okay, so who am I? I'm George Kash. I call myself Mr. Oktoberfest. Self-proclaimed. Why? Because I have been doing Oktoberfesting now since 1968. The very first one in Kitchener-Waterloo. And I have been at Kitchener-Waterloo every year, never missing a year, since 1968. But right now, we're in the Toronto Oktoberfest tent down here at Ontario Place parking lot, which is beautiful. And right behind us, believe it or not, Cirque du Soleil has a tent. So downtown Toronto is busy. And so the Toronto Oktoberfest started 8 years ago. A young lady just decided to try it. We did it at St. Lawrence Market, very small affair. Now it has grown into this, which is 3 days, 4 events, holding close to 3,000 plus in the tent that we're sitting in right now. And so why did I call myself Mr. Oktoberfest? Because with the band and the great musicians that we work with together, we have fun, we educate, we just have fun, and that's what it's all about. It's involvement, and that's why we have such a great gig going. And we do things that no other band can do. We involve the audience, and I'm the only guy in the world that can actually drink 2 12-ounce steins of beer upside down on my head, and in between I can drink 2 shooters of Jägermeister. So there's a beer, a Jäger, and a beer. Now, I didn't do it here today because I have to wait until it's the busy crowd. So what else can I tell you? The guys in the band, John Marmer, the world's greatest keyboard player, Leo Sullivan on the sax and then the flute, Al Cox plays trumpet, and that's what I like to kibitz around. This is a quartet consisting of, are you ready for this? 3 musicians and a drummer, and they laugh because it's fun. But the first form of communication, in case anyone's interested, was the drum. Ha ha ha, so there. Pianos came after, so did the violins. So what else can I tell you? Toronto Oktoberfest is fun, and I'm sure there are things out there in YouTube land. I love that, YouTube land. And I like to consider myself social media illiterate. I let everybody else do all the work. So that's what it's all about. So if you have a question, Philip, go ahead, ask me something.
Okay, so you've been involved with the Ontario Place Lorelei Lounge. And
yeah, wait a minute. You brought up Ontario Place. I love that. 1971, Ontario Place opened. Guess what? We opened it. And it was a beer garden called the Edelweiss Beer Garden / restaurant. And we were there from 71 to 86. Then, of course, it was a government-run facility. And then we went, but we stayed at Ontario Place playing in different pubs, including the Zum Rhein, German restaurant. Another bar that was called Jams. Another bar that was called Carnival Food Fair. We played them all, and we played at Ontario Place from 1971 till 1997, which is really interesting. We opened it, and we played for the closing. The closing, of course, was due to government intervention, I call it, or interference as opposed to intervention. I know people don't like me saying that, but I'm saying it anyway, so there.
Okay, I think it was in the early 90s. I was at a German event at Ontario Place, and they had the forum there with the rotating stage.
Yes, that was fantastic, the forum. And then, of course, and also, yes, you're right, in the 90s, that's when they decided to close the forum and put in a whatever they want to call it. The forum was the only one that had a circular stage, and they had acts there. Buddy Rich, they had Cleo Lane, unbelievable acts, and people could sit around that, and the stage would turn around. It was a revolving stage, and for some reason they stopped it.
I was there for a German event, which was a ton of people there.
Oh yeah.
And do you remember? Did that happen more than 1 year? Was it a regular event or something?
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, Ontario Place, what they started to do was they would have what they call the ethnic nights or ethnic days. One Sunday, or for instance, it was they had Ukrainian Day, Polish Day, Estonian Day, German Day, and it was on the weekends. And so they tried to do that ethnicity and talk about diversification.
Okay, I was there for a couple of Ukrainian events, and then
Yes.
I've just recently found some old film footage of it in the stage turning, and I mean it's really rare now to find something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, so do you know like how many German events were put on there like that? Was it like several?
They had the radio station, Chin radio station, that had the German program. They would run a day or a weekend at Ontario Place because of the facility and the fact there weren't that many other places, and so that's why it was as busy as it was. But the setting was great. So, and Ontario Place is in the throes of trying to figure out what are we going to do with it. Nobody seems to know. I have answers. I mean, we were there forever.
Okay, so it was several years. It wasn't just because I only went one time, but it was more than one time they had it.
Oh yes, definitely.
And maybe like the late '80s or something it started, or was it like
no? First time they started doing it was in the mid '70s, and that's exactly at Edelweiss is where I shaved my head.
Oh.
And that's where I learned to drink beer upside down.
Oh, okay. So those German events and those ethnic events started even in the '70s.
Oh yes, yeah, because of the Edelweiss Beer Garden, and everybody congregated to it.
Oh, great!
It was an institution. We called it an institution.
Okay, because I recently heard about that from a friend of mine. I was just, it's amazing that now we're interviewing you. This is a really amazing story.
Oh, yeah.
So was there Oktoberfest there as well? Did you celebrate it at that place time?
No, everything we did at the Edelweiss was with the Oktoberfest theme. It was because of what it was. It was like a beer garden, and everything we did was just like we're doing now, only on a smaller scale. Because to us, when you're playing at a beer garden restaurant, every night is Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
So we treat it like that, and that's why people have fun with it, because we don't just play music. We're not we don't do concerts. We just have fun. And we never have a song list. We don't have set lists. We don't know 1 minute to the next what we're going to play until we hit that stage, look at the audience, figure, okay, who's out there? What can we do to keep them happy and keep them doing and keep them around and drinking beer?
So you're really amazing with the crowds. I mean, you really get them going.
Well, the whole thing is if you go out and there's a band there, it's nice to be able to feel that you're a part of what they're doing and they're a part of what you are, as opposed to we're doing a concert, this is the next number, thank you very much, boom, boom, boom. And nothing bothers me more than having somebody on stage going, hey, how's everybody doing? Nobody cares what you're thinking.
Wow. So when you were at the Edelweiss, like for somebody who had never been there but's heard about it, what kind of, can you describe the place? Like how, was the music in the afternoons or just in the evenings?
Well, when it first opened, it was all day. It was basically all day. And we played there when it first opened for the first 2 years, 7 days a week. Every day from the beginning from May 24 weekend until Thanksgiving. 7 days a week, starting at 2 in the afternoon right through until midnight.
Wow.
Yeah, that's known as working, but fun. Because we used song sheets too, where we hand out song sheets, and the audience would help us because they would say, hey, do number 10 or do number 12, and then everybody would sing along. So when you get to sing along, it makes it fun.
And was it the same band or was it different?
No,
people?
Leo's been with me since 1996, and John's been with me since 1984, and Al has been with me, not on a permanent basis because we're basically a trio.
Oh, wow.
But when we do gigs like this, that's when we end up making a bigger band.
Okay. Do you have any recorded music, like albums and stuff?
Well, actually, we have two. One is called Keep on Chugging. That's the very first album, vinyl, that we did. And then the other one is called The Oktoberfest King. And the picture on the stage is the CD cover. And then because what we do is we don't do anything original. It's just our interpretation of songs, but we play all the songs differently than most people. We add a certain groove to it. And we've never thought that anybody would be interested, so we didn't do any recording as such. But I think we should, just as a legacy, if you will, which is what we're going to do.
Because you're really highly talented. I mean, it's really. I mean, you don't miss a note. It sounds like. I mean, you're perfect.
Well, thank you very much. But the thing is, yeah, and when we're playing, I know you notice that I'm looking around all the time. Who's out there? What are they doing? Is there somebody I can sort of point out and then give them something? And nothing better than somebody getting something for nothing. I don't care who you are, as long as somebody's saying, "Hey, this is for you, no charge." Hey, it's a gift. Thank you very much. Even if it's just a T-shirt or a pen. We give away candy, we give away stuff, but this is what's so good working for people who have that way of thinking in their mind. Reward people for being here. That's what we do.
So this they announced that it was the 8th annual Oktoberfest, Toronto Oktoberfest. But okay, so just about this is at the Ontario Place parking lot,
Right. Only because that was the only location it would be had a big enough property. I mean, could have been perhaps across the street at the CNE, but again, the CNE is Toronto. No, this is Ontario Place, a property across the street at the exhibition is Toronto property. And when politicians may decide to get together and make it one, then they'll probably have a big one across the street. Who knows? But at least with Justina Klein, who put this together, I give her a heck of a lot of credit because, hey, Toronto was ready for it. Because not everybody wants to drive 60 miles to Kitchener. Here, it's right here. Take the streetcar, go home. And what I love about the Erdinger people who are involved with this is they have the greatest non-alcoholic Weiss beer, wheat beer. Ooh, which is what I drink when I'm doing my upside down thing. Because that way I stay sober. And why not? Then I can drive home because I'm drinking non-alcoholic.
Erdinger alcohol free. They're. I bought them at Loblaws, even in the supermarket.
Well, it depends on. There are certain. So everybody's making non-alcoholic beer now, and they're even selling non-alcoholic beer. I think in the liquor store. Yeah. Because why not? If you like the taste of beer, hey. Try it non-alcoholic. And we did some experiments with some students when we did a university gig. I took non-alcoholic beer and alcoholic beer and put them there and said, okay, take a sip out of each one and tell me which one is which. And they pointed this one, that one. No, nobody can tell. I mean, if you see, but if you don't, it's like it's a taste test.
Yeah. I like Erdinger alcoholic free, and plus also they're the sponsor of the biathlon, which is my favorite sport as well.
Oh, wow, okay, fantastic.
And I'm always cheering for the German team, of course.
Well, beautiful.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's great. So what else would you like to know?
Okay, so I noticed this. I came out. I haven't been here every year, but this tent. When I came about several years ago, it was like a circus tent.
Well, yeah, because originally to be able to do a thing in the parking lot. So we had it at St. Lawrence Market for 2 years. Then a place called the Cool House on Jarvis and Front Street or Queens Quay, and then with another indoor facility. And then when the idea came to expand it, there was no place that it could be expanded to. So let's get a tent. And then somebody came up and said, hey, I got a tent for you. And it was a circular circus tent, which I loved it because it was that circle, it was the round thing, a true circus tent. But that only lasted for one Oktoberfest. And then they went into this style of tent, which is bigger, rectangular. And this is the biggest one that they've had. So this is big.
Because it must be expensive. I mean, either
of course.
They buy it or they rent it out, or
nobody owns this except the 10 people that own it. This is a big tent.
Yeah. And then what do they? They've got to store it for the whole year.
Oh no! Whoever owns this, they probably use it. They use it for conventions all over the place.
Oh,
I mean, they can do everything in places like this, and this thing could end up at who knows, somewhere
in the States, like where it's a warmer climate or something.
Oh
maybe,
yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that's us.
Okay, because I thought they might be, $1 million to buy the thing, or I mean, like
who knows? I'll tell you one thing. It's not cheap.
Yeah, or I think.
But it's a gorgeous facility, and it's a heck of a structure.
And because of the colors, I thought maybe they imported it from Germany or
something. No.
Sure.
somebody around here's got a big tent company, that's a good thing. But they just keep they can keep adding this and adding and adding. This could be longer.
Oh,
yeah,
it's
just
modular.
keep going.
Oh, I see. Okay. Because that
This
was
is we probably used a third of this tent the first time we got one of these and kept on going.
Oh.
Maybe next year we'll have another 25 sections going out the back.
Oh, okay. Because I was curious about the tent. Like, what's the story with? Oh, okay, so it's rented and.
Of course. Yeah, everything is rented, including the band.
Oh.
Everybody's for rent.
So you've been here. What about? Okay, so this is 8th Oktoberfest here, but Toronto there's a lot of strong German community here.
Oh, yeah.
It goes back hundreds of years,
Yes.
actually. There must have been Oktoberfest before.
Oh, well, well, they tried one, believe it or not. I forget the year because I even have a mug for it. But it never took off. They even tried one at the Sky Dome at that time. It was called the Sky Dome.
I went to that one. I was
Yeah.
there at that one. Then they had a Ferris wheel inside
Oh,
there.
yeah.
That was one I went to.
Get out of here.
Oh,
Wow.
I was there, but I didn't,
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
as a matter of fact, we were there. We played at one end, and Ronnie Hawkins was down at the other end. That's what they were trying to do, but it was poorly advertised. Let me say, it was more or less a disaster. Did not work.
Okay, because I noticed it was fairly empty, and then they had all these rides. They must have splashed out a lot for those Ferris wheel inside the place like that, just to get it in there. I mean,
Unreal.
oh wow, that was the Sky Dome. Okay, so there was a Ferris wheel on the floor, like where the
Yeah.
hockey inside the Sky
Boy, oh
Dome.
boy, you got around, didn't you?
Well, that was like in the '90s too, I think.
That's
like, like '95 maybe or '94
Oh, I
or
don't
something
know,
like
but we
something
were there.
like. Oh, okay. So maybe that's the first one I went to, but then there was a caravan before
They
that.
had, yeah,
and
it was
then,
they called it Caravan, and then in Mississauga they had Caravana, I think it's called. And so that was, but they used to have that in Toronto as well. But now because every place does their thing and they have street festivals, so things change. But
Yeah.
hey, Oktoberfest is still Oktoberfest.
So, like, I'm thinking back to the Caravana days, which you're really somebody who's been to them, and I like what were the German locations during
Well,
the
there was
Caravana?
on Sherburne Street was the German club, German Canadian Club Harmony. Was on Sherburne Street, and they used to do it all within the club itself because it was now that building is called the Phoenix, which is a nightclub on Sherburne.
Sherburne and
Between Wellesley and College or Carleton.
that was a German club there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And I remember, I know Donna Schwaben. I was there
Yeah, that's
for one.
let me see, out in the East End.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And were there other German? Because I remember I went to
No.
one a long time ago.
Well, there was the Austrian club used to be on Beverly Street, but a lot of clubs, a lot of ethnic cultural clubs have folded because of the lack of interest by each generation. So that's the name of the game.
But were you involved in those? Were you playing back
We
then
just
at those
played them.
events?
Yeah.
So you've
But-
seen a lot. I mean,
Yeah. And see, what a beautiful thing that what we can do is, I think we're one of the very few bands that, regardless of the type of function, we play anything, and I seriously mean it. And the name that I use in the band is the George Kash Experience. This is the George Kash Oktoberfest Experience. Then there's the George Kash Jolly Jester Experience. That's Dixieland. The George Kash Shuffle and Swing Experience. Big band stuff. The George Kash, what's the other name we know? Loose Change, because of cash change. So we play with the name. But basically it's the George Kash Experience. Take your pick as to what it is we're going to experience.
yeah.
And it's just a fun thing.
And have you played in the States? Have you been at Frankenmuth?
No,
or-
haven't been to Frankenmuth, but we've played because of the things that we do. We have traveled. We did twice. We were in Fiji, in Australia, Spain, Gibraltar, England, Morocco, LA, stateside, all over Canada. Yeah.
And you mentioned that you were at the Kitchener-Oktoberfest. Were you at the very first
The
one?
very first one, 1968, and I wasn't even a drummer. Well, I could play, but I wasn't. I didn't have a band, I substituted for a guy who didn't want to play polkas. And so he phoned me and said, hey, like, there's this gig in Kitchener and they want polkas and waltzes. I can't stand them, so can you fill in for me? I didn't even really have a set of drums, so I borrowed his. I went there and I said, this is fun. So the guy that had the band said, hey, can you do this next week? Why not? And that's what started it.
Oh, so where was it in Kitchener in the first year? How was it?
Well, it was everywhere. It was like a typical thing. They had it everywhere. Where I played was a place called the 404 Wing Club. It was like a legion. The Concordia Club started it. They have the Transylvania Club, and they have the German clubs, and they were all doing their little thing. And then it expanded from there.
So it started, but did they have, I heard there was something downtown too. They had an open, like a square next to the city hall or something.
But yeah, they still have it there. But that's where they have the opening ceremonies, and they have the store that sells stuff, and it's all on Google. You can Google everything. Everybody can Google. You can Google George Cash drinking upside down too.
Okay, so which venue did you play? Have you? Okay, so that was the first one. This is real historic information here. So I'm sorry if I'm.
No. We played. Well, the last. Well, we've been at Bingemans, I think for good God, 20 odd years now. Bingemans. Prior to that, we did different facilities or different places that hired us to play. So, but we've played. I have played in Kitchener at every Queensmount Arena, Kinsman Club, Legion, everywhere.
Transylvania House too?
No, because that's a German club.
Oh, and they've sold that. So I was just wondering.
Yeah.
But so all the different places that you've played in.
Just about.
Oh wow, that's amazing. And so was it pretty busy the first year, or how did it sort of evolve?
It's always been busy, but then it started to have a decline, if you will. Now they're trying to resurrect it again. Where we're playing at Bingemans, they're not associated with the Oktoberfest committee, if you will. They're sort of but things are changing. So, but where we're playing at Bingemans, of course, is they have a tent like this, plus another tent half this size, and that's where we play. It's called the Polaner tent, and then there's Cool House. So
is that downtown? Where is Bingemans?
That's right in Bingeman Park. That's Bingemans Park. Bingemans. Bingemans.
Okay, because that's a famous venue. I just haven't.
Oh yes, it is. They've got water slide. They've got banquet facilities. They've got you name it. Again, if anybody Googles Bingemans, you can find out what it is that they do there.
So, and do you know Walter Ostanek?
Oh yeah, yes. Walter Ostanek, yes. Mr. Grammy winner for polkas. Nice guy, great accordion player. I think he's there again still. I'm not too sure.
I've seen him a couple of times at the opening.
Oh yeah, well he's like the official opening player for cake tapping and all that stuff.
Yeah. Have you played with him?
No, I've never played opposite him. Have been involved with him doing Seniors Day at Bingemans, where I would go in when he did the bus tours, and I drink a couple beers upside down for all the seniors.
Oh. Okay. And so, have you been involved with the Toronto Oktoberfest from the beginning?
From the very beginning, first one. As a matter of fact, I heard that they were going to try to do one, and I found out who the lady was, and Justina Klein, and I phoned her and said, hey, who are you using for a band? She said, I'm looking. I said, you don't have to look any further. And that was it.
Oh, great. So you played at that one where it was in the Sky Dome, I think?
Oh, yeah.
You were there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was to me, that was it wasn't, shall we say, it was a joke.
It must have been a financial loss. They rented a huge thing and it wasn't filled up.
Are you kidding? No, come on. You got a facility that holds 50-some-odd thousand, and what do you end up with, 200 people? Did not look good.
Just the floor, it had benches, and then they had way more.
They had more rides than they had people.
But I think it was a nice try. But it's a risk for someone to try. You know, they had a good intention and stuff, and they took a risk.
But it was fun though.
And they didn't give up, which is good too. So
I don't know. I think that whoever was trying to run that, they did give up.
Oh. But the idea is still.
Yeah, of course. So anyway, so we're here, and it's time for me to say auf Wiedersehen, ciao, dobranoc, arrivederci, what else?
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, thanks for
I
taking the
thank you.
time, and you must be exhausted. You've been playing all day for a couple of days, and
it's like anything. That's what I do.
okay.
So whoever's on the other end of that, ciao.
Okay, thanks a lot. Dankeschön.